Hello everyone, this is Reema L Kotian, Assistant Professor of English in Government First Grade College Harapanahalli that is affiliated to Davangere University. Today I'm going to present important themes in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which is a part of the syllabus prescribed in optional English for the 4th SEM BA stream. Now, let me make it very clear at the outset that what I'm going to deal with in this presentation is not the plot summary or the storyline of the novel. I'm just going to focus on the important themes, an analysis of the themes that can be seen in this novel. Now, when we talk about themes basically mean universal ideas or certain concepts which stand out in the novel. And before going on to these themes, let us actually look at the author who has written the novel, whose themes we are going to discuss today. So, Jane Austen was born on December 16, 1775 and passed away on July 18, 1817. She is an author whose works have more than 200 literary adaptations, as well as several film versions have been based on her novels. The best part about her novels is that they deal with ordinary people in everyday life. During her lifetime, she published 4 novels: Sense and Sensibility in 1811, Pride and Prejudice, that is the novel we are going to deal with, in 1813, Mansfield Park in 1840, and Emma in 1815. Her other 2 novels, Persuasion as well as Northanger Abbey, were published after her death together in the year 1817. Now, Jane Austen's novels, they are known for strong, unusual female characters. The protagonist or the person around whom the story revolves will be usually very strong female character. And most of her novels, they focused on the themes of courtship and marriage. But what she really is known for and what critics really appreciate is her sharp satirical depiction of the English middle class life during the early 19th century. Her satirizing the mannerisms and also her satire of the class differences and the class hierarchy in the then English society defined the era's novel of manners. Now, coming to the themes in the novel Pride and Prejudice. The first theme that stands out is love, pride, and prejudice. Now, like any other love story, even the love story in Pride and Prejudice has the lovers whose love story sees a number of obstacles, both internal and external. Now, when we talk about internal obstacles, these are the obstacles which are mainly posed by the personal qualities of the protagonists themselves. Okay, in the case of the heroine Elizabeth, it is pride, and in the case of the hero Darcy, it is prejudice. Elizabeth's pride makes her misjudge Darcy based on a poor first impression that she gets of him at the Meryton ball, where he refuses to dance with her. And Darcy's prejudice against Elizabeth's poor social standing blinds him to her virtues initially. Now, apart from these obstacles, there are also certain smaller external obstacles in the path of their love, namely Lady Catherine's opposition. Lady Catherine here is Darcy's aunt, and she wants Darcy to marry her own daughter. So her opposition, and then Miss Bingley's snobbery. Miss Bingley herself has set eyes on Darcy, and she wants to marry him. So her snobbery, her insulting Elizabeth and putting her down time to time in front of Darcy, Mrs. Bennet's idiocy, and Wickham's deceit. All of these are the smaller obstacles in the love story. Now, Austen also gives a very realistic view of love through Charlotte's character. But on the whole, through the realization of her protagonist Elizabeth and Darcy's love, she suggests that true love is always independent of social pressures. Now, moving on to the second theme, that is reputation. Now, in her novel, Jane Austen takes this particular theme or this idea very seriously. See, first of all, the novel depicts that a woman's stepping out of social norms makes her vulnerable to ostracism. While on the one hand, Austen also pokes fun at the upper class snobs who are conscious about trivial things and associate these with their reputation. Okay, like for instance, when Elizabeth arrives at Netherfield on foot with muddy skirts, Miss Bingley is appalled. And also, both the Darcys and the Bingleys are appalled at Mrs. Bennet's ridiculous behavior. Here we see that Austen just pokes fun, saying that associating reputation with these trivial things is just snobbery. But she treats reputation as a very serious matter when Elizabeth's younger sister Lydia elopes and lives with Wickham out of wedlock. Now, Lydia's disgrace threatens the entire Bennet family, and probably all the Bennet sisters would have been condemned to marriageless lives. But Darcy intervenes and saves their reputation. Now, this is where several critics question the need for this intervention. That, let us say, if Darcy had been unable to convince Wickham to marry Lydia, then would Darcy's transcendence of prejudice have extended that far? Would he have yet married Elizabeth? Okay, so critics feel that though she presents this theme of reputation, Jane Austen leaves this theme much unexplored in her novel. Now, the next theme is women. Obviously, Jane Austen's novels obviously and often focus on women. Now, here in her novel, we see that Austen is critical of gender injustices present in her society, especially with regard to the institution of marriage. Because herself, she had remained single and financially independent through her novels. Now, here she depicts a character, that is Elizabeth's best friend Charlotte, marrying a silly man like Mr. Collins just for financial security. But through Elizabeth, she also shows that a woman has a right to remain single until she meets the right man. And this she indicates when she shows when Elizabeth refuses Mr. Collins' proposal, saying that he could never make her happy. But on the other hand, though she portrays Elizabeth as intelligent and capable, she doesn't show her speaking out against the Longbourn entailment. Now, in the novel, the Longbourn entailment shows that since Mr. Bennet, Elizabeth's father, has no male heir, after his death, his entire property would pass on to the nearest living male relative and not to his daughters. So though this is unfair, Austen does not depict her heroine or any other major female character speaking out against his entailment. Thus, the novel depicts Austen's uneasy relationship with her own gender. Moving on to the next theme, class. Now, this is very important. This is one of the most important themes because Austen satirizes this class consciousness which is present in her society. In the novel, she shows that the Bennets may socialize with the upper class Darcys and Bingleys, but they are treated as social inferiors by them. And she clearly indicates this through the character of Darcy, who believes in the dignity of his lineage and therefore at the Meryton ball refuses to dance with Elizabeth or with any other woman below his social class. On the other hand, we see Miss Caroline Bingley. She too dislikes anyone beneath her social class, anyone who is not as socially accepted as she herself is. Wickham will do anything in the novel to raise himself socially. He is willing to trap any girl with a rich fortune so that he may climb up the social ladder. So here we see in the novel that social hierarchy is given prominence above all other worthy virtues. This is also evident in the fact that how Mr. Collins often spends most of his time toadying up to his patron, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. But what Austen also depicts is that the Darcy Elizabeth and the Bingley Jane marriages towards the end of the novel show the power of love and happiness to overcome all class boundaries and class concerns. But certain critics have criticized Austen for only showing or criticizing the class structure, but only a limited slice of that structure, because Austen does not represent anyone from the lower classes, and those characters whom she represents, they are shown to be happy with their lot. The next theme is individual versus society. Now, Austen often portrays a society that is actively involved in the private lives of individuals. She also shows that characters are responsible to society around them. This can be clearly seen that through Darcy's guilt for not having exposed Wickham, because he is afraid of exposing the mistake made by his own sister Georgiana. And this leads to Wickham making Lydia elope, convincing Lydia to elope with him, and leads to a calamity befalling the Bennet family. So here we see that Darcy takes responsibility for not having exposed Wickham and sets about making things right. Just as an individual is responsible to society, we see here that society also influences individual opinion. We see in the initial part of the novel that Elizabeth's individualistic nature misleads her opinion of Darcy. But she changes it on receiving positive feedback on Darcy's nature from different sources, such as Darcy's house help, who say what a wonderful master he is. Also, Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner push her towards Darcy as they realize that Darcy is a good man. So Austen in the novel is critical of the power that public opinion has on individual action. So she shows that both the individual and the society mutually influence each other. Just as an individual is responsible towards the society around him or her, she also believes that society has a crucial role in engendering individual happiness. And moving on to the last theme, the theme of virtue. Austen feels that individuals must guide their desires and appetites through their use of reason, because she indicates how Elizabeth almost loses happiness because her vanity overcomes her pragmatism. She is unable to look at Darcy's positive qualities because she is prejudiced against him. At the same time, she also shows that Lydia's lack of virtue is due to her inability to control her passion, and that leads to her eloping with Wickham without considering the consequences. So Austen also emphasizes the importance of self-awareness in order to develop virtue. As we see that Darcy and Elizabeth are the only rounded characters in the novel who grow, develop, and change through each other's help in the novel, and ultimately realize happiness. So ultimately, Austen links happiness to virtue and virtue to self-awareness. So these were the major themes in the novel Pride and Prejudice, and I hope that you found the presentation informative. Thank you.